Welcome to the Storykeepers, a podcast where we talk about the journey of immigrants crossing borders, geographical as well as emotional. Today we explore the journey of a guest who has lived in between worlds, learning how to show up authentically in each and how to support others in their own journeys of growth and self-discovery. Snehal was born in the US, moved to India at a young age, and later returned to the US for her graduate studies. Through these transitions, Snehal has learned the subtleties of cultural adaptations, the value of resilience, and the power of showing up as herself. She is a solo practice owner of Metta Counseling. Her story of self-discovery, cultural heritage, and learning to embrace the complexity of identities across countries and worlds. Snehal, welcome to the Storykeepers.
Thank you so much, Archana.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome, good to know. So, if your life was a film, what scene do you want it to begin with?
You know, my life has felt like a film sometimes. There's one moment that sticks out to me, and it feels a little underwhelming perhaps, but that moment is me sitting on a local train in India, heading to my first day of college, and not being sure of what was going to come next, and just experiencing any local train in India, just the sights, the sounds, the smells, the people, and just being there and looking outside those grilled windows with the three lines, and just wondering what was I doing, what's happening next, and still feeling pretty calm about it.
Oh, that's interesting. As I said in your introduction, you were born here.
Yes.
And at what age did you move back?
I moved back around the age of 15. I was about 15 and a half. Just had finished my sophomore year in high school, and headed to India and joined 11th standard there.
Quite a difficult age.
Quite a difficult age, yeah, absolutely. So many transitions happening, internally and mentally. Your whole thought process is changing at that point. Such a formative time of life rather.
Exactly.
And there you go. I just shifted countries, shifted cultures.
Do you remember the day, or were there any discussions as a family that this was in the works and you would be doing it? What was going on?
Yeah, there were some discussions. I guess the discussions had been happening probably a year or two before. And of course, my parents probably knew way earlier than I did. Initially, I would say I was a little bit thrown off, probably not very excited. I did speak the language well enough, but reading and writing, of course, were not comfortable for me yet. And I wasn't sure, you're leaving a whole world behind. I had friends, I had established myself as a kind of, whoever you are, right, in school. I'd established myself academically, and then I didn't know what would happen. And so I was a little bit hesitant, shall we say.
I'm sure. Yeah. So it's kind of a reverse migration,
exactly.
Like people move to the US maybe around that age, and it was exactly the opposite that was going to happen. And you joined the 11th standard.
Yeah.
So those 4 or 5 years, again, you are barely kind of finding your footing, and then you decide to come back.
Yes.
So why was that decision was it influenced by anything, or you always wanted to come back?
Well, it was influenced by the field of study that I wanted to take up. So, being there for 4 or 5, maybe almost 6 years, I would guess. It feels so long ago now. But being there, and I got an undergraduate degree in microbiology after some fits and starts. So I really enjoyed it. And then, how just one conversation can spark spark just your next chapter of your life, right?
Totally.
So a professor had mentioned that environmental science and environmental microbiology was the next like big thing, and there were so many things that were happening relevant to kind of changing the way we were seeing the environment. And that just, I was like, bus, that's what I want to do now. And I found some programs in America that were really well rated, well regarded. And I'll be honest with you, I hadn't even applied for college when I decided to come back. I'm like, I'll do it all once I get there. But luckily,
interesting.
Yeah, I had a great support system. I had family and friends here who were willing to deal with that. I had parents who trusted me.
Yeah.
And so I started my journey at Rutgers University studying environmental microbiology.
Okay. So, basically, you came back to your country of birth, say around the age of 2021.
Yes.
Was it difficult to adjust back to your life here, or was it like a switch turning on and everything went back to normal?
What a great question. And my answer, it was so difficult. It was just as difficult as the time that I moved back to India at the age of 15 and felt culturally so out of place. And now I came back after 5 years, and I still had some old friends, who I had grown up with. And I felt out of place again because I had become so immersed in Indian culture. I was a part of the music scene in my small town. I had made some amazing friends, and just the act of attending university in India is just, it's different.
It's a different ball game
altogether. Yeah, absolutely. So with all of that, just coming back, I was like, what? Everything felt so big. I felt out of touch with everything. I felt a little bit almost like I'd come from a village, right? Which I hadn't.
Yeah.
But I felt very out of touch and out of place for a little while.
So, what is it that you consciously did, or what is it that you consciously changed about you approached things here, which kind of facilitated that transition?
I'm not sure that I consciously did anything. I don't know that I was aware enough at that point. I do think that I had some odd level of self-trust. I don't know if I deserved to have that level of self-trust at that point. But sometimes what I think, Archana, is that we borrow the trust of the people around us. So I felt that my parents trusted me. And here's just a little story. My dad is super protective, right? Again, very, very open-minded and everything, but very protective, right? So he would not even let me get my own petrol. When I was in India, he would go and fill up my little kinetic with petrol, right? He's like, "No, not you." He would, that's one incident, but so many ways I was very protected. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, you're ready. Go cross continents and just go and figure it out," without having an admission, nothing. Right?
Yeah, that is something which is kind of making me think that you didn't have a plan. You just know you are going to maybe enroll in a school.
Yeah,
that's very, very interesting.
And I thought I knew what school. Like I knew, I'm going to go to Rutgers. There was no doubt in my mind. And I think what is the term now? Delulu, right? I think I was probably a little delulu. But it sometimes, Delulu is the Salulu.
I'm sure.
So I borrowed my dad's trust, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that worked in my favor.
Yeah. That is so important. If hadn't there been any kind of a doubt or any kind of a discussion, the whole approach would be full of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And here you were with that borrowed trust, that kind of helped you and it served you well, I feel.
I think so. I mean, we don't know what the other side would have been.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I'm happy with the way things turned out.
Amazing, amazing. And then you met your would-be husband at the same university?
No, actually, he was introduced to me by a common friend in Baroda, and he was actually studying in Texas at the time.
Okay, okay.
I knew his sister back in India, and we just started chatting on the phone casually, and one thing led to another, and next thing you know, Mangalashtak.
So one hypothetical question here. Okay, if Vikram would have said that let's go back to India and settle there, you would be open to that as well?
Absolutely. In fact, that was my original plan. I
Okay.
wanted to study here, get the knowledge, the latest cutting edge knowledge that I was able to get here. And then I wanted to go back and I wanted to affect some change in India.
Yeah.
My heart really belonged to India. And I wanted to change things. I wanted to, very idealistic thoughts at that time. Youth and idealism, it goes so
Of
well
course,
together.
Of course, of course.
And I won't use the word delulu again, but it is striking me as a theme in a big part of my youth. But I would have absolutely gone back. Yeah.
Okay. So then again, you meet your life partner, you decide to get married, and then there are some discussions. Okay, we're going to stay back. And then it's a different journey altogether.
Yeah.
Because you are born here, you go back, you call that country home, you come back to study, and then you decide to stay back here.
Yeah.
So has your concept of home evolved over time? Because this is a very, very peculiar journey.
Yeah, it is a peculiar journey. Interestingly, I think it hasn't, because that concept of home to me has always been where I am with people who I trust, right, and who I love. And it doesn't matter what building, what the background is, doesn't matter. The setting, the set, right, if we take that film analogy, right, it doesn't matter. As long as I am comfortable and I feel happy and I'm loved, and I have someone to love, then I think
How lovely.
that is home to me.
How lovely. Even I feel the same way. Once I close the main door of my home, and if I have my husband, if I have my daughters, doesn't matter which city, which country, which gully, which mohalla.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You have what you need right next to you.
Yeah.
And that place is home. How lovely. How lovely.
Thank you.
So do you call yourself an Indian American, American Indian, American or Indian?
I guess I am American. So maybe an American of Indian origin, right?
Yeah,
but
quite possible.
Yeah, because I just think there has been a lot more America for me in my life, right, than India.
Certainly.
Although it's interesting, just India has played such a part in my OS, right? I think my OS is Indian.
That's your core.
Yeah, a lot of my code is Indian, right? And so I think that's made a huge impact on just how I express myself, how I live my life.
Okay. Before we get on to your later part of your life, one question coming back to what you studied, what your career choices were, and what you are doing today. How do you look at approaching life and taking those risks, if I may call it, taking those chances, let's not call it risk, taking those chances, okay, your field of study was something else, and then you started your job in an altogether different kind of a setting, and then now you finished your graduate program in counseling, and you are now a business owner. So can you kind of revisit these, the career choices that you made for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was risky. I won't. I mean, thank you for being kind and saying chance instead of risk. But I think those were some risky decisions,
especially when the background that we come from, the higher middle class values, where education is so important, and you came here to study.
Yeah, and I gave it 2 years of my life, right? Like, that was a pretty big deal. And then just to one day get up and quote unquote throw it away, right?
For some.
For some, right? Yeah. I think that's one of the things that always helps me, like a thread that I always follow, is nothing is ever wasted, right? there was a concept I learned about in career counseling, which is called career recycling. So somebody that, kind of, there are a lot of people, midlife, they go ahead and change their careers and they say, hey, I just want to start something different. And it might be a complete 180 from what they were originally planning to do. But I think that concept of career recycling, I love that word, because in recycling, nothing is wasted, right? You're reusing what you have already. And I think that's what, I think no education ever goes to waste. Nothing that you learn ever gets wasted. And who you are just evolves so much based on, what you've learned. So I think I've taken that. I have taken some risks. I have had a lot of safety nets underneath me, right? So which have allowed me to take those risks. And that's a privilege that I'm not unaware of. So with that though, if you have that privilege, if you have the safety nets, and if you're willing to fail, then I think it's an okay thing to do.
Yeah, and you actually would have wanted those changes, right? I mean, nobody kind of forced you into making those choices.
No.
So a lot comes from what you want from life as well. But I really love that word, career recycling.
Yeah.
And especially when, again, we talk about America, the advantages that we have in this country. Coming from a privileged background, when you went to school at say 45, okay, there wouldn't be anybody questioning your choice. There wouldn't anybody be asking you why now, you have everything, you've settled in life. So did that work in your favor, that you were here in this country trying to explore these options?
I think so. I think that was a huge part of it, that nobody questioned that. I think that is a big part of the ethos of this country, right? Where you can take a chance, you can change your mind, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're willing to deal with the repercussions. You know that there can be consequences, right? One of the consequences that I have reflected upon many times is I've always felt like a beginner. I spend a lot of time in that beginner mindset, right? Where, oh my gosh, do I know enough? I just started this. I've only been doing this for 2 or 3 years. Do I know enough? But maybe that's not a bad thing, right? I think that as a beginner, that the whole Zen concept of beginner mind, right? You look at things very differently. You're not set in your ways. And that has its own advantages as well.
Does that keep you on your toes all the time?
Oh my gosh, all the time. I can never just lean back and be like, oh, I got this. I'm always, but it's exciting too, right? It's very exciting because I'm always looking to, oh, what am I learning? What's this new thing I'm noticing, right? And it's exciting.
Yeah, it keeps you young.
I think so.
Because you're always exploring newer options. So why counseling? Did you always want to study this? How did that calling come?
Yeah, I think, the field of psychology was always something that drew me in from a very young age. I love thinking about how people thought, right? What made people take motivation. Even, when you reflect on your own mind, there are so many things that you're not sure why something happens or what is your motivating factor. So I think that field was always exciting to me. But in India, where, that's when I had to make the decision of my undergraduate studies. That was an arts field, right? And I come from a family that's very focused on the sciences. And so with that was not an option for me. And so after I turned 40 and I had my own experience in therapy for a little while, and I said, I think I want to do this. At least I want to learn more. And all the stars aligned. I had support from my family, and SMU campus at that time was really 2 miles away from my house because they had they had a Plano campus at that time, a satellite campus.
Okay, interesting.
And that's where the counseling program was. So I was like, looks like this is meant to be. So I started, and I was able to finish. Yeah.
How lovely. And what an achievement, managing everything and listening to what your mind wants, what your heart wants. and working towards it. It's never easy. I'm sure you must have had your challenges. So can we talk a little bit about navigating that life when you have kids at home, their schedule, and your house is used to a particular rhythm, and then going back to education?
Yeah.
So what were the challenges? How did you kind of course your family support, but other than that, were there any things that you would want to share with us?
Yeah, you say family support, and that's absolutely true. I think learning to ask for support was a big thing that I had to learn. It was really hard for me to let go of that, what I thought was my domain, or this is my job, right? And I think I dealt with a lot of guilt in the beginning, and maybe less throughout, but a lot of guilt, because I was very attached to my daughters. They were very attached to me. They continue to be. My younger one was only about 5 at that time, 5 or maybe 6. And so I felt a lot of guilt. But I also then had to remind myself that, okay, imagine how they're going to look at this as adults. They're not necessarily going to say, oh, I wasn't there, mom wasn't there in the evenings, or she wasn't there every time to pick us up for a couple of years. But they might look at it as, hey, mom took a chance, right? She changed her mind. And maybe that will allow them to do that without guilt, right? Plus, I think it allowed them to develop an even better bond with their dad. So, and he stepped up really amazingly. So that was good. I think another challenge was being in class with people who were like maybe a little more than half my age. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I'm in college, but I'm one of the aunties now. But I had a lot of classmates who were also, midlife transition. This seems to be a field that people come back later on. And I think there are a lot of benefits to that. All that life experience can really help. So that was great. So I was closer to my professor's age, and in some cases older than some of my professors. But I realized that in this field, it turned out to be a benefit for me. So it wasn't that college experience, right? In many ways. But I think the life experience and what it gave me, and plus that slight delulu self-trust, and I was just like, I can do this. Back to that, right? It's a theme. But technology sometimes it felt a little bit like, oh, why is this so, everybody else is getting it so fast. It took me a little bit longer, but kept my brain sharp, I think.
Awesome. 2 points I want to touch back upon. One is asking for support, and then sharing your core, sharing your inner experiences, where counseling comes in. Going to therapy still is kind of looked down upon, if I may say that.
There's a stigma for sure.
So do you want to kind of, as a counselor now, why should people who need help seek counseling? How do you look at that?
Yeah, I think, it's at the core of everything, right? Why should we ask for help? Why should we seek out counseling in particular, right? It helps you see yourself with so much clarity, right? Even if I don't look at it medically, right? So psychiatry as a field, a very medical, very helpful field. I don't look at counseling as a medical field. I think of it more as just learning about yourself, right? And how you interact with people. We all live in a system, right? We're in a system of family, of our environment, of our society. And how we interact in that is so informed by how we interact with ourselves. And so many times we're operating based on these concepts that no longer serve us. We may have learned them as children, may have learned them in our early adulthood, but they're no longer serving us. And we stop seeing that. And so when you have someone in front of you who's just speaking with you, no judgment, who's showing up authentically as themselves, and who just helps maybe point out, just as I call myself a guide, only in the sense that I'm helping you walk along and kind of clearing the weeds from your path, right? Or helping you see the weeds that maybe you didn't realize were there.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I think that ends up being so beneficial in our relationship with ourselves as well as with others. And it can really change the way you feel, even if nothing else. It changes the way you live your life, even if nothing on the outside changes.
How lovely. So very well put.
Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so I want to take you back to the Indian heritage and you being an American. We just talked about it a little while ago. So basically, what do you hold on to from your Indian culture? What do you want your kids to hold on to as someone who's born to the Indian origin parents, if I may call it that?
Yeah.
So, do you want them to kind of learn about India, and what exactly, if yes?
I definitely do, right? It's such a big part of, such a big part of who they are, even if they may not express it in that way. They may not express it the same way I do. They may not express it the same way, my parents do, but they just are, right? I hold on to the food. I'll never let that go. I hold on to the art of India, the music, the dance, everything. It's just the way you can express yourself and the way people express themselves in that way. I just think it is priceless, and it's very close to my heart. I myself was somewhat trained in vocal classical music, Indian, and I may not be amazing or anything, but it helped me learn so much about my culture.
You have a good ear about, and that's important.
That's it. And it opened up the world to me, right? How many more artists can I listen to and understand, right?
Sure.
It's great.
I used to, I'm sorry to stop you. I used to always wonder when I would listen to you on radio, how does she know so much? Because it's very easy for us who've grown in India, who've grown up listening to the music. For you, it is an acquired skill, if I may call it that,
Well, yeah, sort of, right? Where even growing up here, I was so influenced by, I have a very talented cousin who is a musician, and I have aunts and uncles who just introduced me to so many things. My parents listened to so much Indian music, and that was a big part of it. But one thing, Archana, that I think is underneath all of this is the language. And I think learning, and again, not being a master's level literary critic or anything, but being able to converse and understand Marathi, Hindi, Gujarati, right? I think that has helped me connect to people in ways that just speaking, yes, of course, so many people in India understand English and speak so well. But knowing the language, you understand the humor and you understand the expression in the art once you know that language. And I think that has helped me, and that keeps me more connected than anything else.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I really hope my kids just hold on to. Right?
Yeah, how lovely.
Yeah.
And what about the American traditions? Like what do you guys do? What festivals do you celebrate?
We celebrate Christmas, right? It's
yep.
Yeah,
my favorite.
It's absolutely, and I just think the atmosphere all around, and we definitely make it a thing. We celebrate Thanksgiving. I know that Thanksgiving has some maybe questionable origins,
yes,
right?
Yes, for our kids, for sure.
Absolutely, and I believe that, right? I think it's been. Well, that's for another podcast, perhaps.
Yeah. We would need an hour at least.
Another hour. But using that time to spend with friends, maybe making it a Friendsgiving, right? And of course, eating great food, which is at the heart of everything.
Of course, of course. So we are coming towards the end of our session, and one quick last question for you to reminisce a little. Whatever your journey has been, being born here, going back to India, coming back, getting married, having your kids here. Would you do anything differently, given a chance?
Archana, you're going to get me in trouble. Maybe not. Maybe not. I think that I did the best I could at
100%.
every moment. Maybe could I have done better had I known more? Absolutely. But I think knowing what I did at any particular moment, I did the best I could. And so I don't know if I would change anything.
How lovely. No regrets. Take it as it was. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Snehal. Such a heartfelt conversation this was.
Thank you, Archana. You
Thank
made
you
it so easy.
much for sharing such deep core values that you are living your life with. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
And I hope that people who are listening to this, get something. As you said, one sentence can change your life, inspire you. So that's really what we are hoping for. And that's the purpose of the Storykeepers. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have enjoyed this episode as much as we have. See you on the other side. Bye-bye.